now today we have a prophecy we are going to study, and I've chosen the prophecy of Daniel chapter 7. Remember we last did Daniel chapter 2, and now we are on Daniel chapter 7. Shall we turn our Bibles to Daniel chapter 7 and start on verse 1?
In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon,
right?
Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed.
Right.
Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea. And four great beasts came up from the sea,
Right.
diverse one from another.
Right.
The first was like a lion,
Right.
and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked,
Right.
and it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it.
Right. Remember when we started the statue of Daniel, we had first the head, which was a head of gold, which we said was Babylon in Daniel chapter 2. Remember?
Yes.
And then the chest was composed of silver, which is Medio Persia, right? And then we had the belly of brass, which we said was Greece, right? And then we had the thighs, the legs of iron, which is Rome. And then we had the feet of clay and iron. And then we had the 10 toes. Next we had the what? The stone, right? You see that all of them, they compose how many kingdoms? 7, right? You understand? Before Babylon, at the back there, what did we have? We had the Adamic period, remember? It's also a pure period where there was no sin. And then after that, when Adam and Eve had sinned, then next kingdom we are seeing is Babylon. Now, in Daniel chapter 7, it's also a repetition of those kingdoms, but in different symbols. So we saw here the statue was giving the symbol of those, the history in the body parts of that statue. Yeah? But now, instead of having the body parts like the head, the chest, the breast, the tummy, we are having it in animals, right? So the first animal that was seen, right? The first thing, if we can repeat that verse on.
Verse 1.
Yeah.
In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon.
Right. You see where this vision is. Where Daniel dreamt of this or had a vision, it was where in the head, which is the Babylonian Empire, and who was now ruling instead of Nebuchadnezzar, who was ruling. You remember when Nebuchadnezzar died, who succeeded him? His nephew, right? Belshazzar. And this one was the time where Daniel was given a dream in the reign of Belshazzar. Yeah? So, in that time of Belshazzar, we now know where to identify this vision, because it says in the reign of Belshazzar, and we know Belshazzar reigned in Babylon. This is how we come to identifying which period was that vision, right? Yes. And it was the vision when Daniel was still in Babylon. But it's been shown an animal first. And we want to see where these animals are coming from, right?
In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon,
right?
Daniel had a dream,
yes,
and visions of his head upon his bed.
Right.
Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters.
Right?
Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night,
Right.
and behold, the four winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea.
Where are these four winds of heaven? They are striving the great sea. And what came up?
And four great beasts came up from the sea.
These beasts were coming up from the sea. And we want to know what a sea is in prophecy. If we go to Revelation chapter 17, verse 15, it will tell us what a sea is. Now, there we are seeing a woman sitting on a sea.
Verse 15.
Verse 15, yeah?
And he said unto me, the waters which thou sawest,
Right?
where the war sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues.
What is a sea? Peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues. This is how we identify what a sea is, isn't it? Prophecy should unlock the symbol. And the symbol of the sea, there where the four beasts are coming from in Daniel chapter 7, the sea is peoples, nations, multitudes, and meaning it's the people who brought about that beast. Yeah? That beast was brought about by people. This is what we know. In the world, how do we bring about a king or someone to rule? We vote, isn't it? The people unanimously vote. And what is all this voting? This is a leader coming out of a vote, yeah? Or a leader coming out of the sea, yeah? The sea are peoples, nations, multitudes, and tongues, which bring about this beast. So the first beast we are seeing here is the lion there, yeah? That's the first beast, right? And what? Let's hear about this beast coming out from peoples, nations, multitudes, and tongues. They brought about the reign of this first king, right?
The first was like a lion,
Yes,
and had eagle's wings.
right,
I beheld till the wings thereof were blood,
right,
and it was lifted up from the earth,
right,
and made stand upon the feet as a man,
right.
and a man's heart was given to it.
Where did this scenario occur? Is it really in Babylon? Yes. We saw in Daniel chapter 7, where King, not chapter 7, chapter 4, where King Nebuchadnezzar had 7 years grazing like an animal in the bush. Remember? We'll go to that verse where he was grazing, and then we are being told after 7 days, what did he do? He had to come back to become a man. He had these two lives in him, isn't it? He lived as an animal for 7 years, yeah? And also after 7 years, he came back to become a man. Now we are being told that this first beast had a man's heart. Let's see. It's Daniel chapter 4, verse 16.
Verse 16.
Yeah?
Let his heart be changed from mess, and let a beast's heart be given unto him.
That's all that happened in that kingdom of Babylon. Remember? We had a king who had two experiences. This king had a man's heart and also an animal's heart, right? He went to grace for 7 years, and after 7 years was given a man's heart, back to be a human being. We remember, and in all kingdoms, we have never had such an incident. It happened in Babylon. So when you go back to Daniel chapter 7, the first beast here, we have had a clue what this first beast is. The first beast here is Babylon, isn't it? And we have been told there were 2 winds. Do you see the winds? Some people say the winds are how fast it was, how strong it was. No. Because we still see wings even in the third period. So it doesn't mean that. The wings the two wings, the possible answer is that which period, which kingdom is the Babylonian Empire? We had first the Noahic period, which is the first period. And then Babylon comes after the Noahic to become a second empire, a second kingdom. That's the reason why it has two wings. The two is to identify its number two kingdom in the world.
Amen.
Yeah? So we should know how to interpret this prophecy so that it correlates exactly with what God is trying to communicate to the people. And then here we have two wings. That's a symbol to say that this animal is the second empire in the world's history. Of course, there was a flood behind the Babylon. There was a Noahic period which was destroyed by a flood, which was the period number one. All the Adamic extended to Noahic. After that, we see Babylon. Yeah? Yes. Babylon, the two wings, they mean second period in the world's history. And what else?
The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man.
Yes, when Nebuchadnezzar lifted up himself, saw how great his empire was. You know, the empire is signified by the type of metal which was there. Babylon had a golden metal, isn't it? On the statue, gold is the very expensive, very precious metals of all the metals that followed. Yeah, gold, and next there was depreciating in what? In the knowledge of God. Babylon is the only kingdom, as I see, which had a king who was reigning, his name is Nebuchadnezzar, who wrote the chapter in the Bible. Which chapter did he write?
Chapter 4.
Chapter 4. Who is writing there? It's Nebuchadnezzar. Let's read chapter 4 and see, is he the one writing? Right. Chapter 4. Whose history is there in chapter 4, talking about himself. Yeah? So that's how golden it is. It's the empire which started proud and went to graze as an animal. And after that 7 years, came back, is the only empire which gave glory to God. Yeah? Let's see chapter 4.
Verse 1.
Verse 1.
Nebuchadnezzar the king.
Yeah?
Unto all people,
right?
Nations,
right?
And languages,
right?
That dwell in all the earth,
right?
Peace be multiplied unto you,
right?
I thought it good to show the signs and wonders that the high God hath wrought toward me.
Who is writing? Who is saying me? Who is saying me there? That's why this period of Babylon was given a precious metal, the very best metal, gold. He is the one who wrote about God. Let's hear.
I thought it good to show the signs and wonders that the high God hath wrought toward me.
Right.
How great are his signs?
Right. He's giving his own testimonies. Yeah? He's testifying about God. After God had taken him out to be an animal, after he raised himself, he lost his brain and became an animal. Yeah? 7 years with all the paws and everything. Grazing grass there. And God can do that. If you lift yourself up, you can graze. Yeah? So many people want to lift themselves up. Lift yourself. He says, all this kingdom that I've done with my hands. You know, once you lift yourself up, then you're saying there's no God. And God took him straight away to graze in the field. And when he's back now, he's writing his own testimonies. Yeah? And what did he say?
How great are his signs.
Yeah.
And how mighty are his wonders.
Right.
His kingdom is an everlasting kingdom.
He's the one who gave glory to God. That's Nebuchadnezzar. Yeah? Let's go back to Daniel chapter 7. That was just to prove. If you want, read that chapter 4 as a novel and see what happened to Nebuchadnezzar. Yeah? He is the one that chopped the tree. What is a tree in the Bible? It's a leader. He says, I was a tree which was chopped. Yeah? Yeah. And later on, it blossomed. So, Nebuchadnezzar is the one who is ruling in the kingdom of Babylon, and that kingdom was given a precious metal of gold because of his heart, which came later on turned towards worshiping God. And that's why it is a golden metal. After that, the depreciating of these metals shows how far away these kingdoms went away from God. How far going down. Until now, which kingdom are we? Which metal are we? Clay and iron. Clay means we never even know God at all. That's clay. It's not even anything counted to gold. Clay. Huh? At least Alexander the Great, Greece, had what? Brass. Well, somehow, what is brass compared to gold? Silver, Medo-Persia. Yeah, you see, the minerals are going down. Yeah, and then next is iron. Simbi. You take a simbi and compare that iron with gold. No, you can't. Yeah, and then where we are with the 10 toes, partly clay, partly iron. You know, God had no metal to compare it. He just says clay. You put clay here and put gold here. You can't mix it, isn't it? No. So it sees how people have gone away, really away from worshiping God. Clay. Yeah? In the empire where it was gold, look at the leader of the country. After grazing for 7 years, he is the one who came praising God, telling people that we will worship God. How excellent was it, Babylon, right?
The first was like a lion,
yeah,
and had eagle's wings. Mm-hmm. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked,
right,
and it was lifted up from the earth,
yeah,
and made stand upon the feet as a man,
right,
and a man's heart was given to it.
Right. Let's go to the next beast. We have dwelt more about Babylon. Now we have to go to the next beast.
Verse 5.
Verse 5.
And behold, another beast,
right,
a second,
right,
like to a bear,
right,
and it raised up itself on one side.
Now we are seeing another beast here. This one, yeah, it's another side is raised more than the other, isn't it? Mm. We know that this beast, what came next after Babylon? Medo-Persia, is it? Mm. But we know there was one which was stronger than the other. Which one? Between the Medes and the Persians. The Persians were strong. The Persians were stronger than the Medes. You remember, go back to history. And this scenario of being stronger than the Medes, that's why the other side is lifted higher than the other.
Yes.
Now let's go to the next scenario on that beast.
And it raised up itself on one side.
Yes.
And it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it.
You see the mouth has how many ribs?
3.
To show that its empire number
3.
You see how God is so consistent.
Yes.
After giving 2 wings to say it's the second empire, next 3 ribs is the third. There is something that it shows that this now is a 3rd empire from the creation of the world. Yeah? Yes. Now, let's hear.
And it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it.
Yeah?
And they said, thus unto it,
Arise.
Devour much flesh.
Right? Means it was strong. Devour much flesh. rule, isn't it? And the next one.
After this, I beheld, and lo, another, like a leopard.
Another one now, after the Medes and the Persians, what we see, another one which is a leopard skin. Looks like a leopard, isn't it?
Which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl.
Right?
The beast had also 4 heads.
Right.
And a dominion was given to it.
We have a scenario now. We know this one was the third with 3 ribs.
Yes.
Now this one is the 4th. What have you been given? 4 wings. If the 2 wings meant the period number 2, so the 4 wings is the period number 4.
Amen.
Consistency.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes.
And but it's got 4 heads. Now, we know this one is Greece, which followed Medo-Persia. And Greece had a ruler who was called Alexander the Great. A very strong leader. But the day he conquered the whole world, go back to history. He ate and was merry and drank. And then they said, my goodness, he's about to die. Let's ask him who is going to succeed him. Yeah? So, Alexander the Great is about to die now, still blinking. And they asked him, who shall take over when you die? He answered and said, give this kingdom to the greatest. Yeah? And there was no other greatest they could think of, apart from his 4 generals. See, the 4 heads? 4 generals. Who were 1, Ptolemy, 2, Lysimachus, 3, Cassandra, 4, Seleucus. 4 of them to reign. So, that's why now we have the areas which are called by their names. Ptolemy,
Yes.
you know where Ptolemy was? Palestine and Egypt, that's Ptolemy. Yeah? Lysimachus, one was on the north, one was in south, one was on the east and west. This is how it all went. Yeah? And these 4 generals reigned in Greece after the death of Alexander. So that's the scenario on the beast. It had 4 wings, that is 4 generals. That is the 4th empire. And the 4 heads, that is the 4 generals. Now, we will hear more about this beast, especially when we are dealing with Daniel chapter 8. It will come back now to tell us more about this history. We started by having Nebuchadnezzar dreaming of this statue. And it was in body parts, isn't it? Now it's Daniel himself dreaming about the successive periods of the world history. And then we will see even in Daniel chapter 8, where there is a great warning talking about what really happened. Especially the horn is very important for us to know what happened later. But let's finish Daniel chapter 7 and enjoy. Once we don't understand Daniel, never fool yourself you understand the Revelation.
Yeah.
Because Daniel was a book which was sealed and only opened in the last days. So for you to understand Revelation, make sure you understand Daniel and have a full picture of our future. Because Daniel is now more to our history. Right? And we find some of the things are still in the future. But we have to understand. That's why Daniel was told to close. Because all the things that he was being told, was being shown, he had not lived through those scenarios. When he was seeing a beast which is like a bear, So the beast, like a bear, he had not lived in that period.
Yes.
Yeah? He had not lived in the period where the beast is what? A leopard, which is Greece Empire. He had not lived where all this, it was still future to Daniel. That's why he was to seal up the book, because he might not understand what he's talking about. It's going to be opened only when you and me, through history, we have seen what happened. Then we are able now to know what is coming. That's why I say you cannot understand what is coming if you do not know where we are coming from. Yeah? You cannot understand even the church history. You need to know the church history. That it never even started at 1844 only. It started back when the early Christian church were left, isn't it? And also Dark Ages came in to invade it. And after that, the Reformation by Luther, Knox, and Campbell, Wesley brothers, until it went to William Miller, until it went to... You cannot start an argument knowing only what is from 1844 and then start an argument. No, nothing. Go back to the history. Go back to the history and dig deeper and see what really happened. Yeah? When you know what really happened everywhere and where and how things manifest themselves, then you can now have an argument in the future. You've seen people, just one verse, they go haywire with that verse, but you have to start from the basis. Lest you are found causing confusion. Yeah? Now let's go back to Daniel chapter 7. We have seen that we have these beasts. One, Babylonian Empire, yeah? Medo-Persia, and Greece. Now let's go to the next one. Verse 7.
After this,
I
saw in the night visions, and behold, the fourth beast, dreadful and terrible,
right?
and strong exceedingly.
Hang on there. We are to the fourth beast now. Do you see it's got no name? We have a name here, Babylon, which is like a lion. Yeah? We have a name here, bear.
Yes.
We have a name here, leopard, like it's a leopard, right? But with this one, it's a nondescript beast. You can't describe which animal it is. It's a nondescript. Nobody can give it a name. That's why it is called nondescript beast. All we can understand about this beast is it was dreadful, terrible. That's all we can know. But what name is this beast? No name. That's why it is called a nondescript beast. Right, what happened?
After this,
right?
I saw in the night visions,
yeah,
and behold a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible,
yeah,
and strong exceedingly.
Do you see? Very strong exceedingly. Yeah?
And it had great iron teeth.
Look at the teeth. Iron teeth. Yeah? To show that it is the Roman Empire. It is only described as a nondescript beast. Look at the Bible. What does it say next? Yeah?
It devoured and break in pieces.
Do you see how terrible it is? Yeah?
And stamped the residue with the feet of it.
Right.
And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns.
What we can know is that it was diverse from all other beasts. It had iron teeth. It was dreadful, it devoured and broke in pieces. It had 10 horns. That's Imperial Rome. Imperial Rome, when it started, the Iron Age. Now we want to see what are these 10 horns. What are horns in the scripture? What are horns? Let's Go to chapter 17 of Revelation. And fine, we still see these 10 horns at the end. They're still there. Yeah?
Verse 12.
Verse 12.
And the 10 horns which thou sawest
Yeah.
are 10 kings,
Right.
which have received no kingdom as yet.
At that time, they had not received any kingdom. But here, we are only interested to know what are 10 horns. These are 10 kingdoms, kings. As they started in Imperial Rome. You know them. You know them from history. What started Imperial Rome? 10 horns. Yeah? Give me some names. Yeah? Vandals, Herulis, Ostrogoths, Visigoths. Huh? Yeah? Franks, Saxons, Lombards. You know that from history. And yet the Bible and history, they are together. And God has set everything for each period. It's there in the Bible. Even our own period is there. Even what is coming future to us is there for you and me to read and understand. Yeah? Whatever we are going through in the whole world is there in the Bible. If there is a reader should be able to understand. Don't go watching TV without knowing some statements that are being uttered on TV. They are there in the Bible. Amen. So when you watch it next, watch and with your book, the Bible. Say, this one has said what the Bible is saying. This one is saying what is on verse so and so. This one is on verse. Anything which is there. If you want, text me and ask me which one, I'll tell you. Whatever is there in each day, ask me. I'll tell you which verse you should go to and look for that scenario. Yeah? Yes. You see, Daniel. When you go to chapter 1 of Daniel, the whole chapter. Yeah, the whole chapter of chapter 1 is for health and temperance. Only.
Yes.
Yeah, it's health and temperance. Do you know that? To show that Daniel refused to eat the king's meat to keep his brain clear. And the book of Daniel was written by a vegetarian.
Amen.
And will only be understood by a vegetarian.
Amen.
How do you understand the book which was written by a vegetarian when you are still not a vegetarian? How dare you? You won't understand it. Those guys, they were selected, the 4 of them, to stand in front of the king. You understand?
Yeah.
And Nebuchadnezzar, I told you, is gold, isn't it?
Yes.
At least he knew that for a man to be a man, he needs to eat. A man is what he is from what he eats.
Yes. Yeah.
So, being an ignorant ruler who did not know what was best to God, he gave Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego the things that were best to him, but not best to God. What did he give him? Read. Daniel chapter 1. What verse is that?
3.
3.
And the king spake unto Ashpenaz, the master of the eunuchs,
Right?
that he should bring certain of the children of Israel,
Right?
and of the king's seed, and of the princes.
Right.
Verse 4.
Listen to the qualification of the children that were supposed to rule now with Nebuchadnezzar. You remember Israel had gone into Babylon, yeah? But now these have got to stay within the Babylonian Empire. They were Israelites, isn't it?
Yes.
But their passports now were what? Babylon. You see, it's straightforward. You can be a Babylonian anytime, isn't it? The Israelites became Babylonians, isn't it? They were Babylonians. Now people say, we are not Babylonians. We are. If you behave like Babylon, you become Babylon. Babylon. At one time, Israel became Babylon. Yes. We can't be Babylon. We can't be. You can. Yes, you can. The type is there. The type is, they became Babylon. If they were to take passports like me and you, and it would be written in bold, Babylon. Yes? Yes. They naturalized. They had to naturalize in Babylon. These are like, they naturalized to the Babylonians. Yeah? And the early Christian church, when it was invaded by Constantine, where did it go? Dark Ages. To Babylon. It became Babylonian. Yes. Persecuted there for the truth, but they were now invaded by Babylonians. Yeah? And now the Reformation started. If I had time, I'm going to go through Revelation chapter 12 together and you see how things went and where we are going after that and how, it started because they were now reforming. They did not want to be what? Babylonians in the Dark Ages, isn't it? That's why they were killed and persecuted for refusing to become what? Babylonians, right? Until the Reformation went up until John Knox, Martin Luther, Charles Campbell, John and Charles Wesley, and next is William Miller, next is Sister White. They were reforming, running away from Babylon. Do you know that? But at our time, Revelation 13 says, because when Martin Luther reformed against the beast, yeah, in the Dark Ages, they say the beast now had been what? Inflicted with a wound. But you read Revelation 13, will tell you that at our time the wound is what? Healed. Now if the wound, Martin Luther was fighting the beast who was changing times and laws. And that was described by spiritual prophets as the infliction of the wound. Yeah? Yes. Now if the wound is healed, what have we done? We had gone back to the times of the beast. That's why the wound is what? Healed. That's why we are now back to Babylon. So don't be surprised. If someone says, I'm not Babylon, I'm not... Ask that question. Revelation 13 says, one of the heads looked like what? The head which had been inflicted the wound, but the wound had what? Healed. Ask and say, is the wound healed? Then, so there's no one reforming against the beast. We are dancing in his times. Finish. Don't say, hey, we will never, the wound is healed. So we are together in the Dark Ages, in the Babylonian Empire. We are together. If we are not changing those times, we are together. Yeah? You just don't want to be Babylon. But you don't want to change times. Is it not funny? If they tell you that the beast changed, the times and laws, and you say, I do not want to be part of it, but still keeping his times. You should understand what he changed. Are you not keeping what he changed? Only those who will go back to the old time religion and put the times back, they are the ones who are not worshipping the beast. And our third angel's message has warned us not to what? To worship the beast. Why warning us? Why warning us? Because they had come off from keeping Sunday to Sabbath, isn't it? And they want us to continue. Sister White wrote a full chapter on the annual feast to change them back to what was in. There was a Passover initially. It was changed to Easter. Yeah? Yes. Day of Atonement. The Feast of Pentecost was changed to Day of Lent. The new moon was changed to Whitsun, which is Whit Monday, isn't it? The daily communion was changed to Mass. If all these will be left unchanged, the New Year was changed from Abib to January. We know this is true, isn't it? Yes. But shall we enter the pearly gates before changing them back? No. If our colleagues died reforming, and now we say all is well and the wound is healed, then you are expecting to enter the pearly gates. That's not building rotten timbers. Those are the terms that were changed. We are going to find out from Daniel chapter 7. If we understand Daniel chapter 7, then we will feel a need to reform. Yes. If there is a revival and reformation, it means changing back time. Not continuing with the time. The beast has been changing the time. And then you continue and say, oh, thank you very much. And continue with those times. What are you reforming?
Nothing.
What are you reforming? God raises a people who will say, nay, we will never worship the beast.
Amen.
We will worship the institutions of God. And God says that when he says in the days of the end, all the institutions will be changed. The text. In the last days, all the divine institutions will be changed. By who? By who if we refuse? Who is going to change them? It says, in the last days, all divine institutions will be changed. Who is going to do that? Is God going to raise Martin Luther and the Wesley brothers to do that while you are sitting? Huh?